Hi everyone, Nemo here.
If you choose to become inactive or to leave the restored Church of Jesus Christ, where will you go? What will you do?
I feel like I want to do. God!
And this time it's a COVID special. The latest flood of anti-mask and anti-vaxx sentiment is coming from the church heartlands, following a recent First Presidency message which said, "Dear brothers and sisters, we find ourselves fighting a war against the ravages of COVID-19 and its variants, an unrelenting pandemic. We want to do all we can to limit the spread of these viruses. We know that protection from the diseases they cause can only be achieved by immunizing a very high percentage of the population. To limit exposure to these viruses, we urge the use of face masks in public meetings whenever social distancing is not possible. To provide personal protection from such severe infections, we urge individuals to be vaccinated. Available vaccines have proven to be both safe and effective. We can win this war if everyone will follow the wise and thoughtful recommendations of medical experts and government leaders. Please know of our sincere love and great concern for all of God's children." Now, there are those amongst the population of church members who don't agree with mask wearing and have serious reservations about vaccines. This follows a broader trend across America which for many is associated with right-wing political leaning. And so in some of the ensuing social commentary, you will hear these members referred to as the church's right wing. But regardless of their political leanings, some of these comments are pretty wild. In the UK, we don't have to wear masks or social distance anymore. Why are the church interfering in our human rights? I'll go back to online church. I will absolutely refuse that vaccine at all costs. I appreciate the counsel of my church leaders, and I can feel the inspiration from on high. I also have my agency. Getting the vaccine has no effect on my or my family's eternal salvation. How disappointing it is to see yoke liberalism infiltrate the church. Soon they'll require vaccine cards to attend church in person. What a shame it is to see the church fall. It truly is the last days. What I just read. I thought Christ advocated freedom of choice. I thought the church would follow the teachings of Christ. This is an outrageous psychological influence. I am sad and disappointed. I don't know what to think anymore. Right, so this is an outrageous psychological influence, but getting children to repeat the phrase "follow the prophet" over and over and over again isn't? And it's that repetition of the phrase "follow the prophet" that's led us to this circumstance where some feel so torn in the first place. I do not agree with your recommendations. I choose to exercise my own agency and my own prayers to determine what is best for me and my family. I'm taking it to God. Which then begs the question, if when you disagree with what the prophet says, you can then go to God for personal guidance, why ever would you need a prophet? Like, at all, if you can just go straight to God? Cut out the middleman. Very discouraging seeing any religion push someone to make medical decisions. There were, of course, some who wanted to follow the prophet's advice, and they made sure to have their say as well. It feels like many are trying to separate the prophet as a man and as a prophet. Yeah. He is always one and the same. This link from another Latter-day Prophet is a great reminder that we should follow his every counsel, even if it defies everything we think we know. If you can read this link and then what this Facebook article says, and still feel justified in not following his counsel, unless it's for a medical or unique circumstances, I don't understand it. And then they've shared 14 fundamentals for following the Prophet. You can find my video on that right here. Now we have a world where people are confused. If you don't believe it, go and watch the news. We can get direction all along our way. If we hear the prophets, follow what they say. Follow the prophet, don't go astray. Follow the prophet, he knows the way. And they've even referenced it. Children's Hymn Book, page 110, verse 9. We learned this from a very early age. And so I can understand where this person's coming from, feeling like people aren't following what they were taught. Another one here using scripture to back up their point. Whether by mine own voice or by the voice of my servants, it is the same. No real getting around that one, is there? Moses, look at the serpent and live. Children of Israel, nah. President Nelson, get vaccinated and wear a mask and live. Some people, nah. And the nuanced next members have also jumped in. For example, when this person said, the gospel is true, without fault, but it is led by good, imperfect men. I'll continue to do what I believe to be best for me and my family. Another person quickly stepped in with, me too, men are imperfect, right? That is why I will continue to do what I believe is best for me and date only women. It's a two-part joke there. Love it. It's always follow the prophet until the prophet says something you don't like. Then it's, we have personal revelation. Wear your mask, get your vaccine, and love your neighbour. The world doesn't revolve around you. I'm grateful to have a prophet with medical background during this time who listens to the counsel of experts. We've been pushing this idea that Russell M. Nelson's a medical professional. Isn't he perfectly prepared to lead us during this time of pandemic? He goes on about it all the time, being the first person to do an open heart surgery with a heart-lung machine and all that sort of stuff. But this person makes a valid point that gets often disregarded when he's not saying something that these individuals like. No, I will not wear a mask. No, I will not be vaccinated. I'll love my neighbour through smiles. President Nelson was a cardiologist. Specialties matter. Yep. And he said to trust the medical experts, who are specialists, i.e. immunologists, virologists. Wearing a mask is a sign of Christ-like love, Elder Rasband. Watching everyone who told me I had no faith in the brethren because I supported gay marriage become instantly super nuanced about following the prophet. For those of you snarkily asking if you can still go to heaven if you're not vaccinated, of course the answer is still yes. It just might be sooner than you were planning on. And this meltdown, like many social moments in the 21st century, is immortalized and discussed by the medium of memes. So let's start with a classic. Currently speaking as a man. I feel like we need this flashing sign at General Conference. But I find it quite difficult to put any stock in this idea that they speak as a man sometimes and a prophet as other times. The issue with that is if they're speaking in an official capacity within their calling as prophet, so at a devotional, at a BYU address, at General Conference, or as canonized scripture, then they are speaking as a prophet. They don't get to speak as a man in those situations. Why would they? They're in their official capacity. Of course, in their own handwritten journal at home, if they like, they can say what they want. But when they're speaking in that official capacity, surely we can expect them to be speaking as the mouthpiece of God. I'm not going to get vaxxed. My body, my choice. The First Presidency specifically urged you to do so. Urging isn't commanding. The church should stay out of politics. Follow the prophet, follow the prophet. You need to stop looking at porn. It's great how quickly things fall into ad hominem. It becomes about attacking that person individually and blaming any sort of unrighteous habits they have, rather than contending with the issue. Right-wing Mormons during ordained women. Personal revelation can't contradict the prophet. Right-wing Mormons in 2021. First Presidency statement on vaccines. Personal revelation can't contradict the prophet. You can't pick and choose. You can't eat your cake and have it too. You can't have it that personal revelation can contradict the prophet when you want to contradict him, and that it can't when you want to uphold some sort of status quo, like not allowing women to have the priesthood. I don't need help. God will save me. I sent you a canoe, a boat, and a helicopter. I don't need that. God will protect me. I sent you masks, doctors, and scientists. I believe it was Russell M. Nelson who effectively credited God for influencing scientists and helping them come up with the vaccine so quickly. And if you want to view it that way, you can, sure. No one can stop you. We can't hold that position that our prayers were answered and our fasts were effective if we also say that we're not going to have the vaccine and the prophet's wrong for pushing it. Because if the vaccine is an answer to a prayer from God, then why would you refuse that answer? So cute that some of the people in my life who have told me they were against gay marriage only because the prophet said so are suddenly able to receive personal revelation about the vaccines. You don't get to hide behind the prophet when it suits you. You don't get to say, oh, well, I'm only doing this because I'm being obedient to the prophet. I wish that we could allow gay marriage. And then say, well, I don't actually like this now when it comes to being told to have a vaccine. So I'm going to rise up and challenge the prophet and use my own agency and my own personal revelation. Why didn't you do that when it came to gay marriage then? You don't get to say that, oh, I'm just doing what the prophet says, I'm not going to challenge him, when you're very quick to challenge him when you feel like you're the one who's being infringed upon. Thousands receive a personal revelation confirming what they already believed. Excellent. Since the start of the pandemic, members have been against the vaccine and against wearing masks. This is not some sort of revelation in which they are going against their gut feeling or their intuition. It is just confirmation bias, really. This from Fake LDS Newsroom. President Benson mentions once that members might consider avoiding rated R movies. And then Mormons trip over themselves to only watch Disney cartoons. President Nelson urges members to wear a mask, and they outright refuse. We're more interested in appearing righteous than being Christ-like. Choose the easy way. He prepared a way that they might be healed, and because of the simpleness of the way, or the easiness of it, there were many who perished. I get the comparison. I think it's been done in quite a humorous way. Some more follow the prophet memes. Follow the prophet, unless his advice goes against the meme Aunt Susan posted on Facebook, and what your doTERRA upline told you about essential oils being stronger than the vaccine. He knows the way! doTERRA memes get me every time. If Mormon anti-vaxxers were consistent. Bishop, I've been using my free agency to drink coffee and alcohol, and I will not be shamed for it. Can you show me the thus saith the Lord? Very true, the word wisdom was not sent by way of commandment, but by way of greeting. It's the same as this urging. You could actually argue that President Nelson's urging is a more direct invitation to do something than a way of greeting and word of wisdom that maybe these health benefits would be good. Now, this video isn't a personal judgment on anyone who doesn't want to get the vaccine or doesn't want to wear a mask. If you don't want to do either of those things, I'm not going to get into an argument with you in the comments over vaccine science or anything like that. But what needs to be called out and brought to everyone's attention is this double standard in the thinking of some church members. Ones who have robustly rebutted the idea of personal revelation overriding the prophet's guidance on things like ordained women, Sam Young's movement to protect children, gay marriage, and many other times that people have felt their personal revelation does not align with the prophet's voice. These same people then can't use personal revelation to avoid doing something the prophet has asked them to do, which they simply don't want to. Maybe there is some good that will come from this. Maybe in future these members who are now receiving their own personal revelation which contradicts the prophet's guidance may find it in themselves to think more freely in future. They may find themselves advocates of things that go against the mainstream church leadership. Of course, this is unlikely, as what I think we're actually seeing here is a clash of dogmas. Deeply entrenched views on vaccines versus deeply entrenched religious views. It's not like these members have suddenly become radical or free-thinking. It's simply we're seeing a clash between their dogmatic views regarding religion and their dogmatic views regarding science and vaccines. And when those two things have clashed, we're seeing which one wins out for some people. I got a little serious at the end there. But if you like this video overall, make sure to give it a like, subscribe, and ring the bell so you don't miss anything. Bye now.